Welcome to Five Things to Know, a Tax Talk Today exclusive. Today I'm joined by Marcia North. Marcia is a senior tax analyst and stakeholder liaison in the IRS Communications and Liaison Office. She previously served as a revenue agent and a revenue officer in the SB, SE, and LP&I divisions. And prior to working with the IRS, she was in banking management. She holds a master's in taxation, an MBA in finance, and a BS in organizational management. Marcia, welcome to Tax Talk Today, where the IRS representatives and tax industry leaders come together to share their knowledge and experiences working with the federal tax law. To start things off, I'm curious about the IRS No Check Initiative and its impact on taxpayers, and would like to start by asking you about the Executive Order 14247. Marcia, what effect will the changes in this order have on the processing of this year's tax returns?
Alan, this is a very interesting time to be asking this question because, as you know, Executive Order 14247, that we affectionately call No Checks, it ends most paper refund checks in the Treasury, in the IRS, beginning after September 30th, 2025. So the filing procedures really doesn't change with Executive Order 14247. But starting in this filing season, which we're in is filing season 2026, where taxpayers are filing their 2025 tax return, refunds will be issued electronically. And we'll have some limited exceptions in cases where there is no alternative to for taxpayers to file electronically. So the changes in this area really is not specific to the filing of returns, but it is more specific to how refunds are issued.
Well, there's two situations that come to mind, and that's we have the taxpayer that doesn't want to give the government their banking information, which I reassure the taxpayer all the time. If the government wants it, they can always find that information. But you also have the potential of the taxpayer that doesn't have a bank account. You mentioned there's alternatives in those situations, but what can you expand on that a little bit?
So typically direct deposit include the primary source is or direct deposit, right? And taxpayers have been using direct deposit now for years using their checking and saving account, which is typically the primary method that we see taxpayers receiving their refund. This filing season, however, we have expanded the direct deposit option into alternative electronic payment tools, which include your digital payment tools. It includes mobile apps where taxpayers, once those apps and mobile payment digital tools have routing number and an account number, the taxpayer can get their refunds through those tools. Taxpayers just need to ensure that their financial institution pointed them to the routing numbers that they're supposed to be using and combining with those tools, because it's a little bit different than your direct your checking account and your saving accounts. There are some exceptions to Alan. Of course, we have to. There are taxpayers that you say that will not submit their banking information to the IRS, and there are exceptions in the guideline for those taxpayers as well.
Okay, great. Let me just kind of just out of curiosity, I do believe there is a FAQs on the IRS website for these, where the taxpayer can get those exceptions and find a little bit more if they need to.
Yes, there is. We recently put out a FAQ, and we continue to update our irs.gov/modernization of payments website. So taxpayers can start at the IRS landing page, irs.gov, and search for modernization of payment. And we'll have a frequently asked answer and questions there. And we continue to update that website as well. We're intending to use the online account as a tool where taxpayers can do their updating of their banking information and also seek the exception there or the IRS online account as well.
Okay, great. What should the taxpayers do to prepare for the change? Or at this point, what can they do?
The first thing that taxpayers should be looking to do as they gather their tax data and their tax information is they should ensure that they have their banking information. So when they're filing that return, we'd like taxpayers to do it right the first time and enter their banking information on the return so that when the return is being processed, the return will be processed with the banking information. Mind you, if a taxpayer does not submit their banking information during the filing process, their returns will still be accepted and processed. However, when taxpayers are filing, it would make sense that they gather all their information and include the refund information, their banking information, so that they can get their refund there. Secondly, taxpayers who do not have any banking information at this time, they should consider some of the no-cost or the low-cost options. Taxpayer can go to mycreditunion.gov or the FDIC Get Banked in order to open those no-cost or low-cost banking accounts so that they can associate it with their filing in order to get their refunds. On irs.gov as well, we are continuing to update the platform with some of those tools and some of those banks that are offering those no-cost or low-cost accounts.
Great. I wasn't aware of that. That's very nice to know. What will happen? And something we keep on talking about putting the information on the tax return. We all know that on the bottom of the page 2 of where above your signature line is where you're going to put this information on a 1040, generally speaking. What happens if that information is not there and is a refund due? What is the IRS just going to send a check, or what should the taxpayer expect?
What taxpayers need to know if the information is not, their refund information is not on the return. You say you file your return and you did not include your banking information or any of the electronic tools where you can get the refund information. Your return will still be processed. Taxpayers need to understand the return will be processed. However, it will delay them getting their refunds. So the IRS will send the taxpayer a notice of CP 53E. The taxpayer will get that notice in the mail. The taxpayer is asked to go to their online account to update their banking information. Taxpayers can use the IRS individual online account, update their information right there. And if they're seeking an exception, the online account will also allow them to seek an exception right there on the platform. If there is no response from the taxpayer, their refund is going to be delayed and it will be issued by paper after 6 weeks.
So there'll be the notice, if I'm not mistaken, is 30 days to respond.
Yes.
Okay, and then after that, it'll be another 6 weeks.
Yes. So the taxpayer has 30 days to update their information. So if you think about it, if the taxpayer had filed the return and include their banking information, then there wouldn't be that notice, right? Because the only people who will be getting that notice are the people who did not have banking information associated with their return for that refund. So they're going to be sending that notice. The taxpayer has 30 days. The taxpayer doesn't have to wait that full 30 days. The taxpayer could go right to their online account and update the information. As soon as the IRS get that information updated on the online platform, then the refund will be released. So for a taxpayer who doesn't respond, if you think about it, yes, they're going to have that 30 days. We're waiting to hear from the taxpayer. And then if we do not hear from the taxpayer, they're going to be waiting over another 6 weeks for a paper check to be released to them.
Right. Now, you've mentioned the online account a couple of times. I'd like to touch on that. There's no other online tool to do this. You only can do this on the online account, correct?
Yes. So the taxpayer must update the information using their individual online account. So this is a great time for me to call attention as well. For taxpayers who have not yet created their online account, just jump onto irs.gov and on the landing page, just search for the individual online account. The online account is a fantastic tool. It lets the taxpayers look at transcript. They can request transcript. Taxpayers can make payments on the online account. Taxpayers can track to see when the refund is issued on the online account. Taxpayers can can make payment plan if they have a balance due on their online account. And that is for individual taxpayer. Other online tools for our business taxpayers include the business tax account. We do have a business tax account where our business taxpayers can do some of the same things that the individual taxpayers does. And also for our tax professional, we have the Tax Pro account where our tax professional can use to manage the relationships that they have with taxpayers. So if taxpayer is have an authorization with that tax practitioner, and the tax practitioner can represent the taxpayer in front of the IRS. The tax practitioner can actually see those taxpayers' account that they have the relationship with. The tax practitioner can have the taxpayer sign an authorization right there on their Tax Pro account, and it is in effect immediately. So the tools, there's a lot of online tools available for all that audience, the individual taxpayer, the business taxpayer, and our Tax Pro community.
And because we're talking about the online account, I have both the Tax Pro account as well as a personal online account. One thing I was thrilled to see starting in 2025 was that most of the third-party reporting documents are now showing up looking like a third-party reporting document, a 1099 or a W-2, where in the past our clients were lost with the transcripts, but they understand what a W-2 looked like. So now that's another good reason potentially to incentivize.
Yes, for sure. A lot of those notices that the IRS sends to taxpayers are now also showing up in that online platform as well. So if the taxpayer is looking for a notice, probably a letter that the IRS has sent them, they can go to that online platform to look for it. So that will cut down on that time for correspondences and shorten that time process for response. And in seeking something mailed from the IRS, most of those things are found right there in the online account.
Marcia, thank you for sharing these insights on the new Note Checks initiative. Your work on this really will benefit both the taxpayers and the tax preparers. Thanks again for watching 5 Things to Know. It's been fun learning with you about the Note Check initiative, and we look forward to seeing you on another Tax Talk Today program.